Hey mamas, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Christina, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you all about our daily rhythm. I say rhythm because we don't really have a schedule. When I think schedule, I think specific times and time slots and needing to start and end at a particular time and all of those things. And we don't follow a schedule in that regard. If you saw last week's video, I talked about the specific things that we use and do in our homeschool to make things run more smoothly with such a wide range of children. If you're new here, I have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old. If you saw my video from 2 weeks ago, I talked a lot about our schedule, our homeschool schedule, how I schedule our year, our months, our weeks, our days, and that sort of thing. What I didn't dive into a whole bunch in that video is what our specific days look like. And so I thought in today's video, I would chat with you guys a little bit about this because I get a ton of questions surrounding this over on Instagram, chatting with a lot of you moms over in DMs over there, like how much do you get in or how many times a week do you do this unit study and all of those things. And although I briefly touched on some of those things in that scheduling video, I really wanted to talk through more of our daily rhythm. If you do follow me over on Instagram, you oftentimes see parts of our daily rhythm or a lot of our daily rhythm on some days when I share in stories. And so I just thought sitting and explaining in general what a typical day looks like. And I use the term typical loosely because no day looks the same over here. I just thought that I would share with you as much as I can and try to give you a picture of what it looks like. So we do not have a set time that we get up in our house, and there is a variety of reasons for that. I do not set an alarm. I do not get up at the same exact time every day. Every single morning does not look the same. I'm not saying that I'll never do that because who knows what another season in the future will bring. As of right now, I wake up when I wake up. Either I wake up on my own or I wake up because one of my children is climbing into my bed or someone wakes me up or something like that. My kids also do not get woken up by a particular time. We do not start our homeschool day particularly early in terms of academics. And so one thing that I shared all throughout last week were like things and stories I shared, things that I do, like that I set out for my younger ones because they are always the first ones up. So my 2-year-old, my 3-year-old, and my 7-year-old in any combination of ways will be the first 3 that are up. And so instead of doing any type of like formal lessons, and also instead of it just being a free-for-all every morning, many mornings I do strewing for them, which if you're not familiar with strewing, it is simply just laying out things for your child or your children to discover that they can play with, engage with, have fun with, without a lot of help from you or a lot of explanation from you. So this would not be an activity where they need a lot of support. Not that I'm saying you can't do that in the morning, and if that works for you, wonderful, but as far as strewing goes, that is kind of the idea or the concept behind it. And so I shared a whole bunch of those things in stories that I should probably save to a highlight. So by the time you see this video, maybe I will save those to a highlight, but it could be a variety of things from Play-Doh, it could be coloring pages and some crayons, it could be Picasso tiles, it could be blocks, it could be play scarves, any variety of activities that are not just always out for them to grab that seems like new and fun and interesting and just gives them a positive way to focus the beginning of their day. I do think it's important for children to self-select activities, to be bored and come up with things to do, all of those things, and my kids have plenty of time for that as well, and some mornings they have time for that too. But I have found that it gives them a more positive start to their day if I put something out for them. Oftentimes I will do that before I go to bed the night before, and it might take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, and it is totally worth it. Typically I get up before my older 2 boys, and then depending on how early that is, it may look differently. So I may do some reading, I may do a devotion. My boys will typically wake up anywhere from 7:30 to 8:30. It's rare for them to sleep past 9 o'clock. Part of the reason I do not have a set time that my boys have to wake up is because we have reached a season of life where they are staying up later. At least for me, something that I've noticed is part of having such a large family, so many children, such a wide range apart, is that I find that my older boys at the end of the day really need some more of my attention. We're very busy during our days, even though we try to be very slow and relaxed and intentional and in the moment. We have 2 toddlers, there's a 7-year-old, there's also them, and they have a lot of energy, and we're homeschooling and we have a home to take care of, and there's always something going on. Little by little, their bedtime has been creeping later and later because of the fact that my 14-year-old will really want to talk to me about something, or they'll say to me, Mom, can we please just hang out and spend some time together? Or the 2 of them spend some time together because they don't get that one-on-one time a ton during the day. So that's part of the reason. So lots of side notes about the why and how things happen throughout our day. And so once everyone or almost everyone is up, someone will start on breakfast. And the reason I say someone is because it is not the same every day. And I also do not have a specific schedule or system that I use to determine who is cooking breakfast and what they are cooking. I have tried meal planning many times. I am not an expert meal planner. So if we have overripe bananas, chances are I'm going to make banana muffins. Or if someone, including myself, wants lemon muffins, chances are I'm making lemon muffins with some variety of my children. If my 11-year-old happens to be up and wants to make pancakes, we'll be having pancakes. Or if I really feel like, okay, it's already starting to get late, I want us to do something quick, one of my older 2 boys will make acai bowls for everyone, which is basically a smoothie bowl with granola and like almond butter, in case you're unfamiliar with it. If it is the day we are doing something like muffins, then typically they will get made, popped in the oven, and while they are baking, we will start our morning time together. Typically this will be around the table in the kitchen, and we will start with some sort of devotion, whether it be from our How Great Is Our God or Indescribable, or it is the Bible connection in my 7-year-old's Ready to Read program, which we are finishing up pretty soon. We do some kind of devotional or Bible reading together in the morning. And then from there, we move into any variety of shorter lessons that include all of my children. So I try to do kind of like a tapering off of morning time. So we don't all start morning time and end morning time at the same time. So our morning time flows right into morning lessons. And if it's a day where we're making muffins, then we break to have the muffins, or we keep going while they eat their muffins. But basically the way that it works is we all start out together. I do the things that I want all of the kids to be there for in the very beginning. That's why we do devotions absolutely first. And then if we are doing something from our autumn guide from the Peaceful Preschool, which is geared towards the younger kids, like we're doing a scripture song, like a scripture put to song for memory, we do that. If there is a picture book read aloud, sometimes we will do that at that point, but I'll circle back around to that in just a minute. And then the simpler, shorter lessons that I don't necessarily care that much if they're there for or not, but if they wanted to stay, it would still be relevant to them. So we'll do like a 5 or 10 minute lesson, because we do always have multiple unit studies going at a time. Some are ones that take much longer to do one lesson, like maybe 20, 30, 45 minutes, or they might be like a 5 to 10 minute check-in. So if we are doing insects, for example, that day, because it's the month of September and we do Nature Study Club, and we are going to do insects. Typically with Nature Study Club, I try to do it with all my kids, because the lessons themselves that you read to them are very, very short, and then they have related activities in their own books. So I can teach the lesson, which typically I do like 2 or 3, because we kind of have found a good rhythm with that, where we do it like twice a week. So we do the first 2 lessons on whatever day we do first that week, whether it be a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then Wednesday or Thursday, we do the other 2 to 3 lessons, because typically the Friday lesson is something shorter, or it's an art project or something like that. And that seems to work really well. And I like that, because then there's just simple like cut and paste activities or matching for my younger 2, and they can stay at the table and do as much of that as they want. And as soon as they want to get up, I let them get up and go, because at that age, I don't really care if they don't do any academics at all. I really feel like play is the most important thing for them. So I like that they start off with us and then can kind of go. And then typically for my 7-year-old, I require a bit more of her. So she'll stay a little bit longer. I do not release her at the same time as my 2 and 3-year-old. However, I do release her and keep my 11 and 14-year-olds longer. And I just kind of feel it out, and it also depends on what we're doing. Some days she'll say, can I take a break? And I'm like, yep, go ahead. And other days I'll say, you know what, I want you to finish that page or 2 more pages, or I want you to stay and hear the rest of this lesson. And she's gotten really good about knowing, like, my break is coming up, and she's totally fine with that. Then once those three are off to play, I will do something that my 11 and 14-year-old have that is more geared toward them. So maybe it's a read aloud that's a little bit too over my 2, 3, and 7-year-olds' heads for them to enjoy or sit through or sit still for. Or maybe it is part of a lesson that they don't need to be there for. I will take that time and take advantage of that time with my 11 and 14-year-old. Some days I will call everyone back together before lunch to do a picture book read aloud that maybe we didn't do in the beginning of morning time, or I'll call everyone back together to do like a scripture memory verse, something short to kind of like regroup, reconnect, and then we will do lunch and nap time, and I'll share what that looks like as well. That also doesn't look the exact same every day, if I'm just honest with you. So if we have leftovers, say I made a pot of soup the night before, then I'll throw the pot of soup on the oven, heat it up, and I'll just have everybody have soup. If it is a day where my boys, when we finished with our morning time, I'm like, they want to go outside and run around and play, I don't make them come in and have lunch with us. I will do lunch with my youngest 3, head upstairs and do story time with them, which really is like a dance party to 1 or 2 songs from our Spotify playlist, The Greatest Story Ever Told. If you haven't heard it, it's really sweet. It goes through the entire Bible in song form, and my kids love it. So we do 1 or 2 of those. We do a short, like 3 to 5 minute stretch routine to try to calm them down. I typically put a little bit of peace and calming in their diffuser, and then we lay down together and we read 1 or 2 books. And then I will turn on worship on one of my playlists that is more calm and wait for my 2-year-old to fall asleep. Either before or after she falls asleep, I release my 3 and 7-year-old, and oftentimes I will have independent work put out for them on the table. So these are simple things that they actually really love for me to do and they really look forward to. Otherwise, I'm not sure if I would do it. I would probably just let them go play. However, they really like when I do it. So I try to keep it like short, simple, things that are not busy work, they're beneficial, but that they're not going to find like frustrating or get upset because they need help. Not that that doesn't ever happen where they'll end up telling me, hey, I needed help with this, but they know that they don't need to stress out. They can go play and we will revisit it later. Once I am done getting my 2-year-old down, I come downstairs and I typically will grab myself a cup of coffee, or if for some reason I didn't eat yet, by that time I am hangry. So I get myself something to eat, and this is where I give my older boys a little bit of like a heads up that we're getting ready to come back together for afternoon lessons. Now, what's expected of them while I am doing the upstairs routine with my younger kids is to do at least 1 chore around the house to make sure they have eaten so they are not hungry for afternoon lessons, and to do some sort of independent work, whether it be their math, their independent reading, or their book study, or if they had pages left over from earlier in the day, like we did insects together, and obviously they have way more pages than the younger kids. If they didn't get them done, I'll say, I want you to get those pages done and do your math, or these are the 3 things I want you to do. So there is an expectation that they get some things done. They also know that I allow them to get some free time running around, being outside, fiddling with whatever project or hobby they are working on, and then we come back together for afternoon lessons. This is where we do a more in-depth lesson, like a science lesson that is over the younger kids' heads. If it is something that takes a little bit more focus and it would be too distracting or not relaxing, I will do it during that time. But typically that time is set apart for longer read alouds that we do together, or more complicated lessons like the U.S. Constitution unit from The Good and the Beautiful. They are lengthier lessons. There's a lot of information in them, and they really, not that they can't be done, but they're hard to get done with toddlers constantly distracting. There are plenty of times that I come down and they are not finished with their independent work. It is a harder math lesson that is taking them way longer, or they spent too much time playing and they didn't start the math lesson until late. I don't make a big deal out of that. I kind of ask them for a gauge of if they know how much longer it's going to be. And then typically I will take that time to work independently with my 7-year-old. So she knows that she's going to get my time either before, during, or after afternoon lesson times with her brothers, and sometimes it's a combination. Sometimes I'll get that 10-minute window, 20-minute window of when one or both of my boys is finishing up independent work, and that's when I will say, okay, we are going to get together to do a few pages of your independent work. And then once they are ready, typically I'll get started with them, because there may be points in that lesson where they are working independently, or they're listening to an audio version of something that I can refocus my attention back on my 7-year-old, or I will come back around, circle back around to her after I am done with them. We could finish up anywhere from 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m. It really just depends on the day. So I love the concept of a 4-hour school day. If I did the math, I am sure we do not do more than a 4-hour school day. It's just that it gets broken up and interrupted a lot by intentional things like lunch and breaks, and unintentional things like toddlers needing to be redirected and things like that. We typically do not start any academics before 9 a.m. Not because I'm against it, just because it doesn't happen. There have been days that we have not started until almost 11 a.m. because it just happened that way. Maybe we got to baking together, and that was like how we spent our morning, and everyone was enjoying it. And then they asked if they could go outside, and I say 5 minutes, and then it's a beautiful day, and they're having so much fun that I say, like, all right, I leave them out there for like 20, 30 minutes. And so if we end later in the day, it's because we took those liberties in the morning and throughout the day to enjoy the time and not feel strict about it. There are also days that I feel like we've gotten a ton done in the morning, and I just let it go. I say, all right, guys, if you finished up all of your independent work, we're going to regroup tomorrow. It's a beautiful day. Let's just go outside and enjoy it, or something like that. Or let's just do read alouds. And they're like, yes, they love when we just do read alouds on the couch together during that afternoon lesson time. Hopefully this isn't confusing. I know I said a lot of words and sort of fast because I was trying to give an honest, detailed explanation of the rhythm of our day, and hopefully that made sense to you. Hopefully it resonated with you. It's okay if the way that I homeschool is not the way that you homeschool, or that you want to homeschool. That is totally okay. I'm going to be talking more next week about how all homeschools are different with a whole bunch of other moms who all have very different homeschools. So definitely be on the lookout for that as well. I also want to note that that's a home day. That's a day that we didn't go to a homeschool outing. That's a day that we didn't decide to go to the playground or a state park or the skate park or any number of things that we do on any other day. I will save that for another day. But that is a typical homeschool day at home. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, comment down below. I love to get to know you guys. If you're not already following me on Instagram, definitely come follow me over there at rooted_homelife. And I hope to see you soon in one of my next videos. Until next time, stay rooted.